Realizing this, O friend, shed all infatuation and be devoted to the feet of Sita and the hero of Raghura's. While Lakshmana was yet recounting Sri Rama's virtue, the day dawned and the joy and delighter of the world woke up. After finishing all purification act, Sri Rama, who was all pure and wise, performed his ablutions and sent for some milk of the banyan tree. He as well as his brother then matted the hair on their heads, a sight which filled the eyes of Sumantra with tears. With great agony in his heart and doleful face, he joined his palms and spoke in most piteous account. The king of Kaushala, my lord, charged me thus. Take the carrot and go with Rama. Let him see the forest and bath in Ganga, and then speedily bring the two brothers back. Setting at rest all this their doubt and scruples, do bring Lakshmana, Rama, and Sita back to their home. The king has commanded me thus. I shall, however, do as my lord bids me. I assure you, having supplicated in this way, Sumantra fell at Lord's feet and wept like a child. Have compassion, my darling, and take steps to see the Ayodhya is not left without a master. Sri Rama raised the minister and thus admonished him. Dear one, you have investigated the truth of religion in their entire entity. Sibi, the Dichi, and King Harishchandra suffered untold hardship to sake of virtue. The wise king Rati, Venda, and Bali upheld virtue even through many trials. There is no virtue equal to truthfulness, so declare the Agmas, Tantra, Vedas, and Puranas. The virtue I have found by an easy road. By abandoning it, I shall be reviled in all the three worlds. To a man who is highly esteemed, infamy causes agony as terrible as millions deaths. Sir, what more shall I say to you? By urging something in reply, I shall incur sin. Clasping the feet of my father and conveying my repeated obedience to him, pray to him with joined palm, be not troubled in any more on my account, dear father. You too are extremely kind to me as my own father. Hence I pray with joined palms, sire, do everything in your power to see that my father does not feel miserable on account of grief for us. Hearing this conversation between the Lord of Raghu and the minister Sumintra, the Nishada chief and the people felt much distressed. Thereafter, Lakshmana made some poignant remarks, but the Lord stopped him, knowing his words to be highly objectionable. Feeling shy, Sri Rama adjured Sumantra by his own self no to convey Lakshmana's words. Sumantra then reproduced the king's message. Sita will not be able to endure the hardship of the forest. Therefore, both Rama, the chief of Raghu, and yourself, Sumantra, should endeavor to see the Sita return to Ayodhya. Otherwise, left entirely without any support, I shall not survive even as a fish without water. There is very comfort both in her parents' home as well as with the parents of her Lord. Therefore, Sita can live at ease wherever she pleases at a particular time till the adversity ends. The piteous and affection with which the king entreatingly was attended cannot be expressed in word. On hearing his father's message, the all merciful Lord admonished Sita in countless ways. If you return the affliction of your mother in law and father in law, your preceptor and all your near and dear ones will cease. In response to her lord advice, King Videha's daughter said, "Listen, most loving lord of my life, my all compassionate and supremely wise master, can a shadow be torn away from its substance? The sunlight can never exist apart from the sun, nor can the radiance of the moon leave the moon." Having submitted her loving entreaty to her lord, she spoke these charming words to the minister: "You are just like my own father or father in law. It is therefore most undesirable that I should urge something in reply. It is due to grief that I am constant to address you. Do not take offense as at it, sire. It is absence of the lotus feet of my lord. All other ties of kinship are of little account. I have I have witnessed the glory of my father's fortune. His footstool is kissed by the crowns of the greatest monarch. Bereft of my lord, my parents' home, which is such an abode of bliss, does not attach my mind even an unguarded moment. My father in law is no less a personaja than the king of Kaushala, the suzerain lord of the entire globe, whose glory is manifested in all the 14 spheres comprising the universe. Even Indra, the lord of celestials, goes ahead to receive him and seats him beside himself on his own throne. Such is my father in law. Ayodhya is my abode. Agreeable is my family, and my mother in law love me as my own mother. But without the dust from the lotus feet of my husband, the Lord of Raghu, none afford me pleasure even in a dream. On the other hand, impassable road, forest, regions and hills, elephants and lion, lakes and streams that cannot be crossed, wild tribes such as kolas and bhilas, deer and birds of these are delightful to me in the company of my beloved Lord. Falling at the feet of my father-in-law and mother-in-law, request them on my behalf not to grieve the least for me, for I feel naturally happy in the woods. I have by my side the Lord of my life as well as his younger brother, the foremost of heroes, both carrying a bow and quiver full of arrow with them. My mind does not feel the toil of the journey, and there is no giddiness or sorrow. Therefore, pray, grieve not on my account, even unwittingly. On hearing these soothing words from the Sita's lips, Sumantra felt uneasy as a serpent at the loss of its gem. He saw not with his eyes and heard not with his ears, and he was too agitated to speak. Sri Rama comforted him in many ways, yet his heart would not be pacified. He made many efforts even to accompany the Lord, but the delighter of Raghu race Raghu gave him suitable reply each time. Sri Rama command could not be violated either. Cruel was the turn fate had taken, there was no help. Bowing his head at the feet of Sri Rama, Lakshmana, and Sita, he turned back as a merchant who has lost his capital. As he drove the chariot, the horses turned their eyes toward Sri Rama and neighed. Overcome with grief at its sight, the Nishada Guha men beat their heads and lamented. When even beasts felt so miserable of being torn away from his own, how him, how could his subjects and his father and mother hope to live without him? Sri Rama dismissed Sumantra against the latter's wills and himself arrived at the bank of heavenly stream Ganga. Immediately afterwards, he called for a boat, but the ferryman would not bring it. The latter said, I know you secret your secret about the dust of your lotus feet. Everyone say it is some drug possessing the quality of turning thing into human being. By the very touch, a rock was transformed into charming woman, and wood is not harder than stone. If my boat itself get converted into hermit wife Ahilya, like Ahilya, I shall be robbed of my very mean, of my substance, in that my boat will disappear. It is by means of this boat that I maintain the whole of my family. I know no other trade. If therefore, my lord, you must cross the river, permit me to leave your lotus feet. I will let you board the boat only when I have bathed your lotus feet. I seek no toll from you. I swear by you, O Rama, as well as by King Dasharatha, that what I tell you is all true. Let Lakshmana shoot me with arrow if he will, but until I have washed your feet, I will not, gracious Lord of Tulsidas, ferry you across. On hearing these words, Shri Ram, 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 Shri Ram. I will let you board the boat only when I have bathed your lotus feet. I seek no toll from you. Shri Ram, Shri Ram, Shri Ram. O Rama, as well as by King Dasharatha, that what I tell you is all true. Let Lakshmana shoot me with his arrow if he will, but until I have washed your feet, I will not, O gracious Lord of Tulsidas, ferry you across. On hearing these words of the ferryman, mysterious, though imbued with love, the all merciful Lord looked at Janka's daughter and Lakshmana and smiled. The all compassionate Lord smilingly said, do that which may prevent the loss of your boat. Bring water at once and leave my feet. We are getting late. Take us across. The same gracious Lord, by uttering whose name only once man crossed the boundless ocean of mundane existence, and for whose three stride of universe prove too small, thus importunate and ordinary boatmen. though bewildered by importunate and ordinary importunate means what do you mean by importunate? Importunate Shri Ram importunate Shri Ram Shriram, 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 Shriram. Importunated means uh, importunated. It means harsh, persistently for to do something. Harsh, persistently for do something. Harsh, persistently for do something. Harsh, persistently to 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 do something. Importunate means Shriram. Harsh, persistently to do something. Harsh, persistently importunate. Shriram, 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 Shriram. Which means importunate means harsh someone persistently for do something. With a harsh approach to request or offer. Harsh Shriram. Importunate Shriram. Importunated on an ordinary movement. Those bewildered by the Lord's words. The celestial river Ganga rejoiced to behold the nail of his toes. On receiving Sri Rama's command, the ferryman brought a wood basin full of water in great joy, and with a heart overflowing with love, he proceeded to bathe the Lord's lotus feet, raining flower on him. All the gods envied his lot and said there was none so mysterious as he. Having leaved the Lord's feet and drank of the water in which they had been immersed along with the other members of his family, he therefore transported the soul of his decreased forebearer across the ocean of metamorphosis and then gladly looked the Lord across the Ganga. Getting down from boat, Sita and Rama stood on the sands of the Ganga along with Guha and Lakshmana. The ferryman too got down and fell prostrate before the Lord, who felt uncomfortable at the thought that he had given nothing to the ferryman. Sita, however, who could read the mind of her beloved lord, took off her jeweled ring with a cheerful heart. The gracious lord said, "Take your toll." But the ferryman clasped his feet in great distress. What have I not already received, my lord? The fire of my errors, sorrow and indigency, sorrow and indigency. Indigency means what do you mean by the indigency? Indigency. Fire of indigency, indigency, indigency. Indigency means Indigency, state of extreme poverty and destitution, state of extreme poverty and destitution, state of extreme poverty and destitution, a state of extreme poverty and destitution, indigency, indigency. Then take your toll. A jewel ring with a cheerful heart. The gracious Lord said, take your toll. But the ferryman clasped his feet in great distress. What have I not already received, my Lord? The fire of my error, sorrow, and indigency has been quenched today. Sorrow, errors, sorrow, and indigencies has been quenched today. I worked for my livelihood for a long time. It is only today that God has given me adequate and handsome return. By your grace, my compassionate Lord, I want nothing now. While returning whatever you bestow on me, I shall thankful accept and that boon. The Lord as well as Lakshmana and Sita did their utmost, but the ferryman would accept nothing. The all merciful Rama therefore dismissed him after bestowing on him the boon of unalloyed devotion. The Lord of Raghu's race then bathed in the Ganga and after worship a newly made clay image of Shiva bowed his head to the deity. With joined palms, Sita addressed the celestial river Ganga. Mother, pray accomplish my desire that I may return with my husband as his younger brother and worship you. In response to Sita's prayer, steeped as it was in the nectar of love, the following happy utterance came from the holy stream. Listen, O Videhi, Videha's daughter, beloved consort of ShriRama, the chief of Raghu line, who in this world is not aware of your glory. People become master of the heavens quarter the moment you look at them, and all supernatural power wait upon you with joined palms. By addressing an humble prayer to me, you have done me a favor and exalted me. Yet, O venerable lady, bless you, I must just I order to fulfill my speech. You exalted me. Exalted. What do you mean by the exalted? Shriram. Exalted. Exalted means exalted. 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 Shriram. 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 Exalted. Exalted means. Exalted means at a high or powerful level. Person at a high and powerful level. A person at a high or powerful level. A person that is high and powerful level. A person that is high and powerful level. A person that is high and powerful level. You, my younger brother, you beloved Lord, you exalted me high and powerful level. Um, by addressing in a humble prayer to me, you have done me in exalted favor and exalted me. Yet, O venerable lady, bless you, I must just is order to fulfill my speech. With your beloved Lord and his younger brother, you shall safely return to Ayodhya. Every wish of your heart shall be accomplished, and your bright glory shall spread throughout the world. Sita rejoiced to hear these benedictionary words of Goddess Ganga and to find her favorably disposed. Then the Lord said to Guha, go home. The moment he heard this, his face turned pale, and there was great agony in his heart. With joined palm, Guha addressed the Lord in pathetic terms. Hear my prayer, O jewel of Raghuresh. Let me remain with you, my Lord, and show you the path. After serving you for a few days, I shall prepare a beautiful hut of leaf for you. in whichever forest, O Lord of Raghu, you may go and take up your abode. Therefore I swear by you, O chief of Raghu, to do as you bid me. Perceiving his natural love, Sri Rama took him with him, and Guha felt much joy in his heart. Then Guha summoned all his kinsmen, and having gratified them, sent them away. Then the Lord invoked the goddess Ganesha and Shiva, and bowing his head to the celestial stream Ganga, the Lord of Raghu proceeded to the woods with his friend Guha, his younger brother Lakshmana, and Sita. That day he halted under the tree. Lakshmana and his friend Guha of provided for all his comforts. At dawn, the Lord of Raghu performed his morning duties, and then the Lord proceeded further and visited Prayaga, the king of holy palace. The king has the king has truth of his ministers, Shraddha Shraddha for his beloved consort and beneficent friend like Bind Munde, the deity presiding over Prayaga, Bindu Madeva, the ShriRam. The king has truth of his minister, Shraddha of his beloved consort, truth of his beloved consort, and the beneficent friend like Bindu Medeva, the deity presiding over Prayaga. His store is ShriRam, ShriRam, ShriRam. His store is repealed with the four prizes of human life, which the scared region surrounding the confluences of the Ganga and the Yamuna mark his most beautiful dominion. The holy Prayaga represent his inaccessible, strong, and lovely fortress that no enemy has been defamed of possessing. All the sacred spot are his chosen and valiant warrior who are staunch in battle and capable of crushing the host of sins. The confluence of Ganga and Yamuna constitute his exquisite throne, while the immortal banyan tree, known by the name of Akshayavata, represent his whole royal umbrella, which captivated the heart even of Seg. The waves of the Ganga and Yamuna constitute the chauris, whose very sight destroys sorrow and want. Virtuous and holy saints wait upon this king and attain all that they desire, while the Vedas and Puranas are the rapodocists who recount his stainless rapodotist. Rapodotist means 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 a professional reciter of epic poem, one who writes or speaks rapodistically. A professional reciter of a epic poem. The professional reciter of the 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 epic poem. Rapodist who recount his stainless virtue. 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 Who can describe the glory of Prayaga, a loin as it were for the herd of elephant in the shape of sins? The chief of Raghu race, who is an ocean of bliss, was filled with delight to see the glorious king of holy places. With his own gracious lips, he told Sita, Lakshmana, and his friend Goha the greatness of Prayaga. Making obeisance to his holy place, he cast a look round the grove and gardens and expatiate of its glory with the utmost devotion. In this way he arrived at and saw the confluences of Ganga and Yamuna, the very thought of which bestow all choice blessings. After bathing in the confluence, he gladly adored Lord Shiva and worshipped the deities presiding over the holy Prayaga according to the prescribed ritual. The Lord then called of Bharadwaja, and the Sheikh clasped him to his bosom as he fell protested before him. The joy that the Sheikh felt within his heart cannot be described in words. It looked as if he had found the bliss of oneness with Brahma incarnate, bliss of bliss of oneness with Brahma incarnate, oneness, bliss of oneness. Oneness means, what do you mean by the oneness? Bliss of oneness. Shri Ram, 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 Shri Ram. Shri Ram, 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 Shri Ram. Oneness. Oneness means oneness. Shri Ram, Shri Ram, Shri Ram. The fact of state of being unlifted or whole through comprising two or more parts. The fact of a state of being one in number, one in number, one in number, one in number, oneness, oneness with Brahma incarnate. He had found the bliss of oneness with Brahma incarnate, Brahma incarnate, oneness with Brahma incarnate, oneness. The chief of Sikh, Bharadwaja, invoked his blessing on Lord. He felt great joy in his heart to perceive that God had, as it were, set before him in visible form the reward of all his virtues. After inquiring of their welfare, the Sheikh allotted seat to the royal guest and offering homage to them, Shri Ram, Shri Ram, Shri Ram, Shri Ram, Shri Ram, all with his love, he then bought and presented to them bulbs, roots, fruits, and sprouts, all sweet as ambrosia. Shri Rama with Sita, Lakshmana, and his devotee Goha partook of these delicious roots and fruits with much relish. With much relish. Relish means, what do you mean by the relish? Relish. Shri Ram, 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 Shri Ram. Relish. Relish means great enjoyment. Great enjoyment is called relish. 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 Relish. Great enjoyment is called 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 relish. With much delicious root and fruit with much relish. Relieved of his toil, Sri Rama felt much happy, and Bharadwaja addressed him gentle tone. Today my presence, pilgrims and renunciations has been rewarded. My penance, pilgrims and renunciations, pilgrim, pilgrimage means, what do you mean by pilgrimage? Pilgrimage means pilgrimage means religious journey is called a pilgrimage. Religious journey is called the pilgrimage. Religious journey is called the pilgrimage. Religious journey is called the pilgrimage. Penis, pilgrimage, renew citation. Renew citation means renew citation. Renew citation means renew citation. A formal rejection of something, typically a belief, calm, or course of action, is called renew citations. The express of the tactic abnormal right position, usually without assigned to another person. A formal rejection of refraining from cause the action. Something typically belief came or cause of action. Today my penis pilgrims and renunciations has been rewarded. Today my prayer has been rewarded. Today my prayer, meditation and dissipations have borne fruit. Nay, all my piteous practice have been rewarded. My your very sight, O Rama, there is no culmination of gain, no culmination of joy other than this. Culmination of gain or no culmination of joy. Culmination of gain. Culmination means, what do you mean by the culminations? Culminations means culmination. Culmination means a highest or climatic point of something, especially to attain after a long time. The highest or climatic point of something, especially attained after a long time. The reaching of median of the celestial body. Culminations. Highest point. Culmination means highest point. So culmination, no culmination of joy after than this. Culmination of gain, no culmination of joy, no culmination of gain, no culmination of gain, no culmination of joy after than this. In beholding you, all my hopes have been realized. Now be pleased to grant me this one boon, that is spontaneous attachment to your lotus feet. Until a man get sincerely devoted to you in thought, words, and deed, he cannot even dream of happiness in spite of all his devices. Sri Rama felt abashed to hear the word of the Sikh, much as he was sated with joy by his love and devotion. The chief of Raghu then told all the countless ways the fair and bright renown of the Sikh. Great indeed is he, and he, the repository of all virtue, whom, O chief of Sikh, you are pleased to honor. The Sikh Bharadwaja and the Shrirama felt abashed to hear the word of the Sikh, much as he was sated with joy by the love of the devotion. The chief of Raghu then told all the countless ways in the fair and bright renown of the Sikh. Great indeed is he, and he, the repository of the all virtue, whom, O chief of Sikh, you are pleased to honor. The Sikh Bharadwaja and the hero of Raghuline then exchanged calamities and experience ineffable joy. Exchange calamities. Calamities means, what do you mean by the calamities? Civilities. Civilities means, what do you mean by the civilities? Civilities means, what do you mean by civilities? Civilities. Exchange civilities. Civilities means formal politeness and courtesy in behavior and speech. Formal politeness and courtesy in behavior and speech. Polite remark used in formal conversation is called the civilities. Polite remark usually in formal conversation. Polite remark usually in formal conversation. Polite remark usually in formal conversation is called the civilities. Polite remark used in formal conversation. Polite remark used in formal conversation is called the civilities. Civilities. On receiving the news of the people of Prayaga, the Sikh Bharadwaja and the hero of Raghu line thus exchanged civilities and experienced ineffable joy. Ineffable. On receiving the news of the people of Prayaga, including religious, students, ascetics, hermits, accomplished saints, and recluses, all folk of hermitage of Bharadwaja, in order to have a look at the charming sons of the King Dasharatha, Sri Rama made obeisance to them all, who were delighted to obtain the reward of their eyes, deriving supreme joy. They gave their blessings and returns, extolling the beauty of the royal guests. Sri Rama reopened in the hermitage, reposed overnight. At daybreak, he bathed at Prayaga in the confluences of the Ganga and the Yamuna, and proceeded to his journey with Sita, Lakshmana, and his attendant Guha, gladly bowing his head to the sage. Sri Rama lovingly asked the sage, "Tell me, my lord, by which route we should go." Smiling inwardly, the sage replied to Rama, "All paths are easy to you." The sage then called his people in order that they may escort Sri Rama. Hearing his call, some 50 of them came glad at heart. They all cherished boundless love for Sri Rama, and each of them said he had seen the path. The sage then sent with the royal party 4 religious students who had practiced all kind of virtue in a series of previous births, making obeisance to the sage and receives his permission. The Lord of Raghu proceeded with a cheerful heart. As the party passed by some village, men and women of the village ran to have a look at them. They felt gratified in having attained the fruit of their life and returned disconsolate, sending their heart after the strangers. With great courtesy, Sri Rama dismissed the students who returned having obtained their heart desire. The Lord then crossed the river Yamuna and bathed in its water, what was as dark as his own body. Hearing of their arrival, the people inhabiting the river bank ran to see them, unminded of their duties. Beholding the beauty of Lakshmana, Rama, and Sita, they congratulated themselves on their good luck. Their heart was seized with intense longing, but they felt shy and inquired the names and residence of the newcomers. Such of them, however, as were advanced in years and intelligent, were able to identify Rama through same device. They related to them the whole story, telling them how Sri Rama had proceeded to the woods in the obedience of his father's commands. They were all sad to hear this and lamented. The king and queen had have not done well. In the meantime, there arrived an ascetic who was an embodiment of spiritual glory, young in years and charming in appearance. His ways were unknown to the poet. He was attired in the garb of recluse and was devoted to Rama in thoughts, words, and deed. His eyes were wet with tears, and the thrill ran through his body when he came to recognize his beloved deity Sri Rama. He felt prostrate on the ground, and the state of his body and mind could not be described in words. Thrilling all over with emotion, Sri Rama pressed him to his bosom. He was in such an ecstasies, though a pauper had found a philosopher's stones. Everyone who saw them suggested as through love on the one hand and the supreme reality on the other, embraced each other in living form. Next, he threw himself at the feet of Lakshmana, who lifted him with a heart overflowing with love. Again, he placed on his head the dust of the Sita's feet, and Mother Sita gave him her blessings. Knowing him to be her own child, the Nishada chief of his turn fell prostrate before the hermit, who gladly embraced him, recognized him to be a friend of Sri Rama. With the cup of his eyes, he drank the nectar of Sri Rama's beauty and was delighted as a hungry soul who has secured excellent food. Tell me, friend, what are those father and mother like that have exiled to the woods children such as these? Beholding the beauty of Sri Rama, Lakshmana and Sita, men and women alike were ill at ease on account of love. The hero of Raghu race then admonished his friend Goha in ways more than one, and bowing to Sri Rama's command, he felt for his home. Then, with joint palms, Sita, Rama, and Lakshmana made renewed obeisance to the Yamuna, accompanied by Sita and two brothers. They gladly proceeded further, extolling the daughter of the sun god as they went. Many a traveler met them on the way, and beholding the two brothers, they fondly exclaimed, "Finding all the marks of royalty on your person, we are so troubled at heart. When you wend your way on foot, the science of astrology, which tells us that man possessing such features should always be born on some vehicle, is misleading to our mind. The path is difficult and lies through big mountains and forest. On top of it, you have delicate lady with you, infested with elephants and lions. The forest is too terrible to look at. We are ready to accompany you if you enjoy us to do so. We will escort you as far as you go, and will then return bowing all our hats to you. In this way, they offered their services, overmastered as they were by love, as their thrill ran through their body and tears came to their eyes. The all merciful Lord, however, dismissed them with polite and the gentle words. The hermit and villages hamlets and villages that lay on the road were the envy of the town of the Nagas and gods. The deities presiding over these towns said to one another, "By what blessed soul and what auspicious hour were these hamlets and villages founded?" Shri Ram, Shri Ram, Shri Ram, Shri Ram, hamlets. They are so lucky, mysterious, and of such exquisite beauty. Even Amravati, the Ing Hamlets. Hamlets means, what do you mean by the Hamlet? Hamlets means, what do you mean by the Hamlet? Shri Ram, Shri Ram, Shri Ram, Shri Ram. Shri Ram, Shri Ram, Shri Ram, Shri Ram. Shri Ram, Shri Ram, Shri Ram, Shri Ram, Shri Ram. Hamlets. Hamlets means Hamlets means a small settlement, generally one small than village, and strictly is without church. Is without church. Hamlet, small settlement, state settlement. They hamlets and villages, they lay on the road where the envy of town. By what blessed soul and what auspicious hour were these hamlets and villages founded? They are so lucky, mysterious, and such exquisite beauty. Even Amravati, the city of immortals, stood no comparison with the spot which were trodden by Sri Rama's feet. Trodden by Sri Rama's feet. Sri Rama trodden. What do you mean by trodden? Trodden by Sri Rama's feet. By what blessed soul, what auspicious hour were these hamlets and villages founded? Even Amravatis were trodden by Sri Rama's feet. The dwellers on the wayside were all embodiment of virtue. They invoked the praises of the deities of the heaven in match such denseness of heaven. In match such they feasted their eyes of the Sri Rama, who was dark as cloud, as well as Sita and Lakshmana. The lake of the stream in which Sri Rama bathed were the envy of the lakes and the rivers of the gods. The tree under which the Lord sat was glorified by the trees of the paradise. Nay, kissing the dust of the Sri Rama's lotus feet, earth deemed herself most lucky. Shri Ram, Shri Ram, Shri Ram. Cloudless screened him from the sun. Clouds screened him from the sun. The god rained on flower and regarded him with wistful eyes as the ShriRama wended his ways, looking at the mountains, forests, birds, and beasts. Whenever Sita, Lakshmana, and the Lord of Raghu happened to pass by some village, all those whose heart of his coming, young and old, men and women alike, came out of once unmindful of their household duties. Beholding the beauty of Sri Rama and Lakshmana and Sita, they obtained the reward of their eyes and felt gratified. Their eyes were wet with tears, a thrill ran through their body, and they were all enraptured to behold the two brothers. The state of their mind could not be described in words. It seemed as if pauper had stumbled off pile of chintamani. Calling their neighbor, they admonished one another, obtain the reward of your eyes this very moment, somewhere enraptured to see Rama, and went with him, gazing on him all the time. Others took his image into the heart through the door of their eyes and were utterly overpowered in body, mind, and speech. Seeing the cool shade of banyan tree, some spread soft grass and leaves under it and said, pray rest awhile, and you may then depart either just now or preferably next morning. Shri Ram, 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 471.